Sometimes I would literally rather get punched in the face than talk about overconsumption on the internet. Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name is Gita Marie. I'm an environmental educator, and as such, what consumers can do and how we use products is a really big part of everything that I do. I talk a lot about overconsumption. I think it's one of the most effective ways where consumers can readjust their impact, because it's generally a problem through every single industry currently. So looking at overconsumption not only from a consumer perspective, but also in terms of what business models thrive on overconsumption, so we can criticize the corporations that's benefiting. Furthermore, the lack of political initiative that make that possible in the first place. And I've had a few videos go pretty viral on Instagram specifically, which means that over the course of the last few weeks, I have gotten more insane comments than I have gotten in the 10 years that I've done this. It is actually mental. So I thought today I wanted to react to some of the comments that I've gotten on my videos, and we can unpack them together, talk about them together. Not so much so because you have to feel pity for me because, oh my goodness, she's a content creator online, her life is so tough. Where? But more so because I think a lot of the stuff that I am told in the comments is things that everyone that cares a little bit about climate is going to hear at one point or another. The whataboutism is strong in people. And whether it's comments you get online or it's comments you get across the dinner table, I think it can be a pretty good idea to have a strong sense of what you're about and be able to provide some context, some replies, or simply just have peace of mind. So today we're going to be reacting to some comments that I've gotten, specifically comments on a video about influencer culture, overconsumption, this video specifically.
Bluff in a sec, but here goes. Fast fashion, overconsumption, and influencer culture has helped normalize some pretty messed up behavior. Doing new clothing hauls every week and every month is not normal. It's also not normal to buy luxury goods and act like you're just buying groceries. It's also not normal to constantly be off on holidays or retreats. Not normal to own storefronts worth of beauty and makeup products. We're constantly seeing this type of consumer behavior online, and then it suddenly starts to feel normal. But not only is this super unrealistic for people, it's also super unsustainable. Also, it's not a human right to be able to afford cheap and trendy clothing. In fact, people have been on budgets long before Shein existed. Shein is not that old. Borrowed, swapped, got secondhand clothes, got clothes from older kids, and whenever we got a piece of clothes from an actual store, it was something special. Now I sound ancient. I'm just tired of seeing both regular people as well as influencers defend this type of consumer behavior like it's their right. Like their trendy outfit is worth more than the waste and exploitation it cost. Buy less crap and start unfollowing the creators that romanticize overconsumption. Trust me, you will be so much better off.
Which got over 10 million views on Instagram. So one of the things that I heard throughout this video, and I think it's honestly pretty hilarious, is that I can't talk about overconsumption because I own clothing. Just clothing. Just simple clothing. I got a lot of comments like this about the fact that I own clothing, or I wear mascara, or I have earrings. Just a lot of stuff related to the things that I wear. And how can you talk about fast fashion? How can you talk about overconsumption when you yourself wear something that is not necessary to your survival? And now I've mentioned this in many a video before, but we don't have to boil our lives down to only surviving just because we care about the planet. There is still plenty of opportunity. You don't have to wear a burlap sack in order to be an environmentalist. I don't know why some people seem to expect me to do that. What I typically say in this type of situation is that, well, first of all, the stuff that I own is secondhand. Now, if you buy secondhand fashion with a fast fashion mindset, that's also a problem. But generally, I try to wear my clothes for as long as possible. The shirt I'm wearing in that video, I've owned for 10 years, and I got it in a vintage store in Paris, so who knows how long that's been in circulation. I've also gotten a lot of, well, there's no ethical consumption under capitalism, and I think that is a pretty misguided cop-out. I generally have an issue with using it as this universal truth because it really isn't. It's not as profound as it seems. But what is usually meant by this is that, well, it's really difficult for consumers to properly navigate the supply chains and impact of products because it is so vastly untransparent. Even when you try the best that you can, you still support something that is unethical or exploiting humans or exploiting nature. Like, all of these things still happen even if you try your best best to avoid it. And that I agree with. There's no such thing as completely avoiding exploitation of either resources, nature, other humans, even when you're trying to reduce your impact as much as you can. There's no way of being 100% ethical and sustainable if you're a person that also has to live and breathe and work and enjoy things as of today, in today's society. But the way it's often used is to say that, well, because there's no way of completely avoiding exploitation and pollution, I might as well not give a fuck about any of it and just consume the stuff that I want to consume, because there's no ethical consumption under capitalism anyway, so why should I care? And that I cannot with it. It's something that's being repeated so much online that it ends up becoming this universal truth. But it's also kind of a cop-out, because it sort of leads you to believe that there is not power in doing anything if you can't do it perfectly. And that is untrue. There's a massive spectrum of what we as consumers can do and how big of an impact we can have. And looking into how we can reduce and minimize the way we're participating in consumption today is so vastly important. The statement sort of implies that there are no nuance, and there is plenty. I love when people assume that I am joyless or sad or jealous whenever I criticize behaviors of hyperconsumers. And this video was specifically about influencer culture and how the idea of showing massive clothing hauls or like expensive designer clothing over and over again, or like generally just showing off access, wealth and access products, etc. Just overall showing this very replacing buying new, constantly participating in the trend cycle way of producing content, which to me is nauseating, and I want to criticize it as much as possible. Sometimes people assume that I am really jealous, and that is why I'm criticizing it. But that's not why I'm criticizing it. I'm not jealous. I have the opportunity every single day to be them. Every single day I open my email, I have the opportunity to be that kind of influencer. I have gotten offers from every fast fashion brand. I have a few videos in a weird shady brand deals I've been offered series here on YouTube that you can go and watch as well. I got invited to Abu Dhabi with a Lamborghini for Lamborghini Sustainability Week, and they had a very just name your price, everything is fine vibe, but it does not work with the values that I have and the work that I want to do. It would mean that I would make money from that video and then never again, because my platform would be worthless then. If I was jealous, it would be because I couldn't do the stuff that influencers are doing, that are making this type of content, and wanted to, but I have the opportunity to and I don't. So, also joyless? What are you talking about? I've also gotten a lot of comments about my picture wall, as though this is a very controversial amount of picture frames to have. And specifically, I kind of understand where they're coming from. It's misguided, but I kind of understand. So I'm talking about overconsumption and not buying more stuff than you need. Functionally, I don't need any pictures on my walls. Collecting art over vast amounts of years, or buying things from vintage stores and like collecting things from flea markets that I'm going to own for the rest of my life, which, fingers crossed, is going to be a really long time. It's just really not the same as buying 15 new pieces of clothing from Shein every 2 months. It's just really not the same. And a lot of people were also like really supportive in the comments and trying to explain to a lot of the original commentators on this that, well, if she replaced the picture frames every month, that would be problematic as well. Absolutely. But they are always there because I've owned every single one of these things I've owned for so long. A lot of it is heirlooms as well. The little one we got up there is from my grandmother's attic. And this is a gift from my mom. My mom made this. I had a subscriber make that. I found that at an antique store. And this is from YouTube. So that is the newest thing out of any of this. It's not that I don't understand, that this is just a way of deflecting away from the actual subject. And honestly, I'm a little bit annoyed that I don't have to, but I am replying to some of these comments, like trying to explain the context of it all, because then they were actually successful in shifting the conversation away from the topic I was actually talking about. And if you are ever in a situation where you're talking about something and it's like a really big global wide problem, there's like plenty of data to support that this is bad, and someone picks out a detail on your person and tries to steer the conversation over in that direction instead, don't let them. Doing this in my comment section and it's bothering me, but I've sort of been going back and forth of whether or not I should defend myself or like try to explain, or whether I should just leave it alone, even delete the comments, because they don't have a right to comment on my stuff. I can just delete it, that's my prerogative as well. But I'm also thinking that maybe a lot of people like having specks of these thoughts, so it might be good to see the conversation carried out. I don't know, all of these conversations is something that's happening inside my head. Because it doesn't matter. If I have pictures on my wall, I'm wearing clip-on earrings, I'm wearing mascara, owning a shirt, it's not the problem. And the reason why some people are making it a problem is because the topic you're presenting to them is too uncomfortable. And some people lack really critical self-reflection skills. I am self-critical every single day of the week. Every single day of the week. Doesn't mean that I'm perfect at it, but I think I criticize myself more than anyone else. So there's nothing that you can say to me that I already haven't told myself. Just let that be clear. It's almost fascinating that we are not able to have a conversation on a higher level than stop buying so much stuff. Well, you own stuff too. Yeah, sustainability is not a product, it's a method. And you can have whatever style you want or prefer whatever aesthetic you want and still make it more sustainable, because it's how we acquire stuff that is where sustainability can be found. And it's for how long we have the products that we own. That is the key factor here. It is if we have them for years and years, for the rest of our lives. It's if we repair them and maintain them so we can have them for a longer period of time. That is the most important thing. So in that regard, I really don't care where you get your clothing from. It's a little bit untrue. I do care a little bit because some brands are just absolutely icky. But in the grand scheme of things, I don't care where you get your clothing from, as long as you hold on to it for years. And that's where fast fashion has a really big problem, right? Because a lot of the clothing that's made with fast fashion methods is of such poor quality that consumers have absolutely no chance of using something for the rest of their lives. Or at least it's very, very rare that that happens. I still have a sports bra and a pair of leggings that I bought from H&M when I was in high school. So it can happen, but if we statistically look at what happens to products, a lot of it is really hard to repair. A lot of it we don't even try to repair before we throw it away, because we spend so little money on it that we don't want to invest the time in fixing it. There's a lot of problems here that is not only on the consumer, but that's also on the business models and the companies that are producing and selling these things to us. So look at that, how we got all the way around again. Like, wouldn't you know, now we're back to, well, it's also on consumers and the business models, because they choose to produce shitty things that we can't take care of and fix, or that isn't necessarily designed to last, which is why a lot of the clothes we own lose their shape or like become really shapeless and weird. It's because it's not designed. It was never meant to last 10 years or 15 years. Never. And that is one of the big problems with specifically fast fashion and fast furniture as well, to be honest. Any kind of quick, easy or cheap consumer product, that is sort of the problem. But overall, what I think we should focus on is for how long we use the products, for how long we can maintain something so we can keep enjoying it for years and years. Because then overconsumption stops being a problem. If everything that we own is something we intend on owning for the rest of our lives. But that is not the reality of today. And that doesn't change, no matter how many times you're gonna drag me for wearing earrings. Talking about it, I don't know, I have been in a place where I am deeply discouraged by social media, because the level of the conversations that I'm having currently with people is... But the internet, however full of dinguses and jackasses, also hold you guys, the people that I identify as my community, and the people that I am inspired by and motivated by, and the people that share their journey with me in my comments and my DMs, and overall all the things that keeps motivating me to do this job and to seek more information and to not only work with consumer action but also with political and corporate action, like all these things. It also holds that. It's just one comment like this can literally drain me in a way where I need 10 or 15 of the positive ones to sort of make up for it. It takes up so much energy. Whenever I hear someone make these kind of arguments in real life, I am stunned in a way where it usually takes like several minutes before I realized that that was one of those types of conversations that I'm in. I was recently at a meeting where I'm making a little coffee in the break and they had oat milk. I was very excited about the fact that they had oat milk, and a woman comes up to me and says, it's weird that I talk about sustainability and then I use oat milk because oat milk has the biggest carbon footprint. Just look at her like, no? Factually untrue. Currently, I am as uplifted as I am frustrated, but at different points in the day. Okay. I hope that this gave you either some fuel. I don't want to encourage eco-anxiety, but I do want to encourage eco-rage, because that we can use. Okay. Other than that, I hope you thought this was funny. I try to keep it at a comedic distance, because the fact that people are actually out there thinking this with their brains, we being one of the most advanced species, I know for a fact that this is not the majority. I think this is kind of my therapy. So if you have any experiences like this, share them in the comments and let's talk about it together. Also, I would encourage anyone that could be inclined to make comparisons and comments like this to sit the fuck down. I like to believe that we are very rarely being criticized by people that's doing more than we are. So there is that. And also, I think this also ties really well into the idea that we think of an environmentalist looking a certain way, or like being a certain way. There is no one way for an environmentalist to look like, which means that you can have as many pictures on your wall as you want, as long as you don't replace them every single month. Cool, cool. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you liked it or it was useful in any sort of capacity. I will see you guys next time. Take really good care of yourselves. Until then, bye.